Hi there, my name is Kim Schultz, and I'm here today to talk to you about taking a holistic approach to learning how to swim. So, I was born and raised in San Diego, California, and I remember my first swimming lesson when I was about 2 years old. I don't think I liked it very much. I remember that, but I'm happy that my parents continued with me and kept giving me swimming lessons because I can't think of a time when I did not swim, when I didn't have a wonderful relationship with the water and I didn't look forward to being in and around water. I grew up around it and I've been around it my entire life. So I'm really fortunate in that aspect. One of my first jobs was teaching swimming. And I've been teaching swimming for almost 30 years now. So quite a long time. I've learned quite a lot throughout these decades. And I've had various careers along the way, intertwined with my teaching swimming. I was a high school English and ESL teacher for about 12 years as well. And during that time, I would still teach swimming, whether it be the weekends or during the summer, but I've always been really drawn to the water. And once I started teaching as well, I've just always been really into educating others and not only teaching children and actually all ages and all abilities how to swim, but doing train the trainer type things where I teach others how to work with children in the water, work with adults in the water, and have compassion in the water for people that have fear and anxiety in the water. So I've been really lucky in that way. And my love of the water inspired me to found a nonprofit called Face in Water. And we do swimming and water safety education worldwide, serving communities that are in need of water safety and swimming. And, it's pretty much any community in the world. And I've taken my teaching experience and curriculum design and various educational experiences and put them into creating some curriculum for parents, grandparents, and caregivers, specifically that work with kids or have kids ages 0 through 5. And one of the things I've done is written a children's book. It's called Learn to Swim with Lou, and it has 10 basic swimming and water safety skills that I've sort of broken down everything into. I worked a lot with various populations. I worked with ESL. I've worked a lot with autism in the water. So I'm used to taking information and breaking it down into very easily digestible little bits. So that's what I've done, is just sort of tried to take this information and put it out to as many people as possible and make it as accessible as possible. So I do have some books that are coming out on Amazon, and you can visit my website as well to check that out. So today I'm going to be talking about the problem, which is a lack of confidence in and around the water, which leads to drowning. The solution, which I find, is to create a happy, healthy relationship with and respect for the water. And that's a holistic approach to learning how to swim. So really looking at the whole child and the whole experience and where swimming and water play a part in their life. So rather than just, at the pool learning about swimming and water safety, actually doing it throughout their life everywhere, at home, in their own backyard, wherever you can find it. And then some of the difficulty that I find is just a lack of knowledge. People just don't know what they don't know. And perhaps they are getting different knowledge from different people. There's a lot of knowledge out there, especially with the internet. So it's hard to find, what the best thing for your particular case or particular situation is. So I try to make everything that I put out there equitable to everyone. And then I'm going to go over the how-tos of 10 basic swimming and water safety skills that everyone should learn to have a happy, healthy respect for the water and relationship with the water for life. And then the challenge at the end, I'm going to challenge you to share this information and to contact me and let me know how I can share your information and, figure out what you're doing and just how we can collaborate. So I haven't done a lot with my nonprofit until quite recently. And now I'm really starting to want to put this information out there and get it out into the world and serve as many people as possible. So if throughout this presentation you hear something that resonates with you, or maybe you have a question, or you have an aha moment and you think, wow, that's something that, I need to do, or I need to think about, or I can help other people with, please contact me. After this, I'm going to have my information on the last slide, and I would love to hear from you, and I would love to find ways to collaborate with other organizations and, save lives and prevent drowning together. So we all know what the problem is. According to the CDC, drowning is the leading cause of unintentional death in the United States for children ages 1 through 4. I say we all know what the problem is because I'm thinking about when I go to conferences and I go to places where it's all like-minded professionals, we all feel like we're preaching to the choir. We all know that drowning is the #1 cause of unintentional death in children ages 1 through 4. We know that, but the general public does not know that. They are not aware of that. Drowning is also the second leading cause of unintentional death in the United States for children ages 1 through 14. So this is such a high risk, and I think that people just aren't aware of the danger. And if you're not aware of it, it's not going to be on your radar, and you're not going to be teaching your kids about it. So if we think about it, drowning is unintentional, it's accidental, and it's preventable. So let's think about the ways that we can help prevent these drownings from happening. One thing that I find, I work with a lot of adults that have fear and anxiety around the water. I get a lot of adults that are sort of wanting to learn to swim, to check it off their bucket list, or perhaps they've had fear their entire life and they haven't felt like they've wanted to talk about it or admit it, or they haven't found anyone that they could work with on it without feeling ashamed or embarrassed by it. So it's really a difficult situation, because if you are an adult that has fear, there is that sort of taboo about it. I mean, especially living in San Diego, if you say you don't swim in San Diego, people probably go, oh yeah, whatever, or they kind of laugh it off or whatever it is. But really, that reaction is just making it even worse for the person that does have fear and anxiety. So they are passing that on to their kids, to their grandkids, or passing it on to the next generation. If a parent doesn't know how to swim, there's only a 19% chance they're going to get their kid's swimming lesson. So again, that's just a continual process where we continue to pass that fear on. And then we have this next generation of individuals that have anxiety around the water and don't want to get near the water, and are not really living their life up to their potential because of that. So as a parent, we want to be really mindful about the language that we use around water, how we talk about water. I hear parents say, don't go in the deep end or you'll drown. Or, don't get my face wet. I can't have water on my face. Don't get my hair wet, things like that. So we want to be really mindful, especially with dealing with young children, of the message that we're giving them. Are we telling them that we don't want to get our faces in the water? Are we telling them that if they do go in the water, they are going to drown? We have to be really careful of that. And we want to be modeling safe, healthy behavior. And we need to find ways to do that. So it's very disappointing to me when parents don't swim, because you're missing out on this really beautiful time when, while being in the water, you have this skin on skin connection. And it's just really this wonderful parent and child bond that happens with the skin on skin connection in the water. And you're just in this beautiful, lovely, therapeutic place, and there's nothing like it. So I really encourage adults that if they do have an unhealthy relationship, to try to get over that and try to change it so that they can in turn pass something positive on to the next generation. I like to treat water like traffic. So when you think about teaching a child how to cross the street, you probably don't say, don't go near the street because it's really dangerous and you're going to get hit by a car and die, right? So we don't say things like that. We say, hey, this is really dangerous. We need to be very careful, but we can show you how to do this safely, right? So we show kids how to do it safely. We hold their hand, we look both ways, we go to the crosswalk, we go to the stop sign, we go to the stoplight. When we're going to school, we have crossing guards. So there's all these things that are happening throughout a child's life that is reinforcing this positive behavior around traffic and cars. So it's a skill that they're mastering, and it's being ingrained in their brain because this is a survival skill. Like, it is necessary to learn how to function in society. If you want to function in society, you need to know that traffic and cars are very dangerous, and you need to know how to move about that environment in a safe way. So that's how we need to think about water. And this can start at infancy, in the bathtub, is that we want to teach children how to navigate water safely. We don't want to say, water, the pool's really dangerous. If you jump in, you're going to die, you're going to drown. You would never do that with crossing the street. So we really don't want to do that with water either. And we don't want to put that fear, ingrain that fear into them. We want them to respect the water and be able to navigate it safely. So I see parents, and they go on the internet and they look up the best car seat they can find and Consumer Reports, and they get the fireman to install the car seat, and they don't go anywhere without the car seat, and it has all these straps, and they make their kids safe. And I love that about parents, but I see these same wonderful, good intentioned parents doing this and driving to the parking lot of the pool, and then they take their kid out of all the safety straps in the car seat, and they put them on the ground, and they say, you have to hold my hand, and we have to look both ways, and we have to get through this parking lot safely. Let's do it together. And then they get to the pool, and they take out these $2 floaties and blow them up and put them on their kids. So I really think that we need to start, looking at how we talk about the water and how what we show kids around the water, and how we model behavior around the water. And we need to do the same thing we do with traffic. When you are teaching a kid to cross the street, you practice over and over and over again. And then you practice over and over and over again for literally years of their life, so that they can then navigate it safely. So as teenagers, as adults, we don't even think twice. We know automatically exactly what to do before we're going to cross the street. So we need to do that with water as well. So one of the problems that I find is that parents are using floaties a lot, and they're sort of defaulting to putting floaties on their kids. And especially lately, this has become really popular. And I think it's because they make floaties really cute, and they have Disney characters on them and cute, sea creatures and things like that. But there's a time and a place for PFDs, or personal flotation devices, and PFDs should always be Coast Guard approved. So there's a time and a place for them. If you're going to be in or around water and your child's not safe, maybe they don't know how to swim, you're going to be on a boat, you're going to be in a kayak. I mean, they have to have them for that anyway, right? That's the law. So when you go to a pool, they are not used as learn to swim aids, okay? So PFDs are an added layer of protection. They are not to replace supervision or replace learning how to swim. The first thing that happens is there's poor muscle memory. So when you're swimming, when we think about when you're swimming, you are in a horizontal position and you are moving across the water. So when you're wearing floaties, the problem is you have the floaties on top, maybe on the arms, and then your body is in this vertical position with the head up out of the water, right? So they're not getting face on their water. Water on their face. Notice my nonprofit is called Face in Water. For this reason, I think that when you have someone that is vertical like this in the water and has their head up and they're just struggling to not put their face down, that's where we really have the problem. They need to know to put their face down and to get horizontal in the water. So when they're vertical, they have poor muscle memory. They're typically kind of dog paddling. Their head is up out of the water, head back. And when your head comes up, your feet go down anyway. And their legs are bicycling. So rather than having these nice straight kicks behind them, their legs are bicycling. All right, so we have poor muscle memory. So not only are you doing the child a disservice by, making them physically unable to go anywhere safely on their own, but you're instilling this poor muscle memory into them, and then also you have their face up, so you're again saying, you're not going to have your face in the water. It's okay. Here's another thing that I hear is I just saw a kid recently. He was probably about 3, and he was with his parents at the pool, and he had floaties on, and his parents kept saying, "Oh, you're doing such a good job. You're swimming. You're swimming. Look at you swim. Look at you float. Wow, you're amazing. You're incredible. What a great swimmer you are." And my heart just sank, because I thought, these parents are really, they think that they're doing the right thing and they're really trying to encourage their kid. But the 3-year-old isn't thinking, I'm a great swimmer because I have these floaties on, and if I take them off, I'm going to sink. They just think, I'm a great swimmer. That's it. So we have to be really careful. Again, we have to be mindful about what we're telling kids and what we're showing them and the words that we're using around them. That if your child is swimming around in floaties, they are not swimming. Please do not tell them that they are a swimmer. They get a real false sense of security. So many times when kids are in floaties, they get too comfortable and too confident, right? They know that they can go anywhere in the pool and they will stay on top of the water and float. So I see this happen all the time. Kids will be floating around in the deep end. They'll get out, they'll go have lunch, they'll take their floaties off. They forget that they took their floaties off. They'll come back to the pool, jump in, and sink to the bottom. And, parents always say, God, that's so weird. I don't know why that happened. And I just want to tell you, be mindful. Please think about why this is happening. Think about the message that you're giving your children. So your kids think that they are safe when they're wearing floaties, but they are not. So please, 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 floaties are not, they're not there to replace supervision. They're there as an added layer of protection when needed, okay? So swimming is not an optional activity. Learning how to swim is not an optional activity. I have parents sometimes that'll say, my kid is in so many activities. They're in ballet, soccer, karate, and swimming. And something's got to give. We got to get them out of something, so we're going to stop swimming. And I always beg of them, please do not stop swimming. It is not an optional activity. They don't need those other activities in order to survive in life. So remember, we talked about being able to cross the street and navigate traffic, and that's a survival skill, and it's necessary to move forward in life. Think of water as the same thing. Being able to navigate safely in and around water is a life-saving, necessary survival skill that you need to teach your kids. So one of the things that I like to do is I specialize in swim instruction, and I do, water safety as well, but I really go to the experts for water safety. And one of the organizations that we partner with, that Face and Water partners with, is Collins Hope. And I encourage you to go onto their website at collinshope.org and learn about the risks. They have an amazing water safety quiz that you can take and figure out how much you do know about water safety. And then you can get the education that you do need to keep yourself and your entire family safe. So water safety education and learning how to swim, those go hand in hand. And this is like where this holistic piece comes in, where we're teaching this whole child all about being safe and healthy in and around water. So again, what we're teaching them is how to navigate risks. So we want to be able to teach kids how to respect water and not fear it or have anxiety or be scared by it. And we want them to know how to safely navigate it. And once they can do that, they can enjoy the benefits of it. There's so many magical, wonderful, beautiful benefits to water. And we want to encourage them to be able to experience that. So I'm going to show you a short video of a 2-year-old, and I do this with all the kids that I teach from the get-go. They have to ask permission to get into the pool from an adult. So here's a 2-year-old asking permission. Okay, what do you need to ask me? Yes, you may come in. Thank you. Come in carefully. Good girl.
nice? You ready? Let's get your hair wet. Blow your bubbles. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so as we saw, she goes ahead and asks permission to get in the pool at 2 years old. So, I know that kids are going to do what they're going to do, but if we are doing this on a daily basis or every single time we go to the pool, that might not be daily for everyone, but every single time you go to the pool, they have to ask permission to enter the water. At least you're adding that layer of protection for your child and they're being safer in and around the water. So a holistic approach to learning how to swim, it promotes safety. So this is safety that your kids, again, are going to have for their entire life. And it inspires confidence around the water. So one thing I hear from adults that don't know how to swim is just how much they've missed out on throughout their life. They talk about sitting on the side of the pool during pool parties. They talk about going on vacations where they're not able to fully enjoy themselves. And it's not just that they can't participate in the activity, it's that they actually do have a lot of fear and anxiety around that activity and around the water. And so they're really not able to enjoy themselves. Being in the water, again, builds bonds and builds trust. And so if you're working with your kid in the water safely, you're teaching them that you are there for them, that you're protecting them and helping them and showing them what to do in a safe way, and they're going to trust you. Of course, we are encouraging physical activity because, I learned how to swim at a young age. I swim, I kayak, I scuba dive, in any of the water sports I absolutely love. And I can't imagine not being able to do all those things if I, had an unhealthy relationship with water, if I scared to be around water. I feel like my quality of life has been so enhanced just from my love of water and understanding how therapeutic and magical it can be for everyone. So there are many benefits of swimming, and one thing that you don't really think about, you think, oh, we're in the water and we're having fun, but really swim lessons accelerate a child's mental, physical, emotional, and cognitive development. So while you're in this wonderful water, and I'm going to tell you that working in warm water is much easier than working in colder water. And I know that that's not always an option for everyone, but if you do have somebody that has a lot of fear or anxiety or is very uncomfortable in water, working with warm water is going to be much easier than working in cooler water. Emotionally, swimmers have more discipline and greater self-control. And water-based exercise improves mental health and memory. So, you say mental health, it's just something that's been in the news, on the brains of everyone lately, of our mental health crisis in the United States, as well as I'm sure worldwide. And I feel so terrible for these kids that have ADHD and sensory issues and autism and anxiety and depression from such young ages. So it's nice to know that water-based exercise really helps with mental health. I mean, any exercise does, but being in the water just has all of these added benefits. Learning to swim at a young age helps develop better balance, movement, and grasping skills as well. So this is another thing that as you're teaching your child how to swim, you don't even realize that they're getting all of these wonderful added benefits as far as their developmental process goes. They find that physical exercise helps manage and treat depression, anxiety, and behavioral issues by boosting the production of oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine, and endorphins. And I like to think of these as like the happy chemicals in our brain, things that make us happy, things that make us relax, things that calm us down, and they just give us that overall sense of well-being. So if you think about it, you could have a child that has anxiety on a regular basis or is a little bit unsure of themselves or perhaps doesn't have a lot of self-confidence. And then you put them around the water, and if they don't have that self-confidence around the water, you're really looking at going, pretty down deep as far as getting into your anxiety and depression in the long run, as far as not having these skills. And again, I see this so much with the adults that I work with. They always talk about how once they learn how to swim, they always say that they can't believe they didn't do it sooner, and it would have saved them so much anxiety and grief and embarrassment and humiliation and uncertainty. And yeah, it's just something to think about, where again, we really want to have compassion when we're working with people that are uncomfortable around the water, and we need to help them have some self-compassion as well. But once they're able to relax, they can really start to benefit all from all of these added things that we get from being in the water and from exercising. So if we look at oxytocin, it creates relaxation, it reduces anxiety, it fosters trust, and promotes growth and healing. So these are things that we definitely want for a child as they are developing. Our serotonin is in discipline and impulse control. When we have dopamine, a boost in our dopamine, we are motivated to take action. Children and teens have a feeling of accomplishment. They feel proud of their progress. And this is something that, with positive reinforcement, when I'm teaching, I see this all the time. I see kids that have very little self-esteem or confidence. And when they accomplish something in the water, it's just, there's so many layers of the positive results they're going to get out of that. And they just feel so proud of themselves and so accomplished. And then the water is so therapeutic. So they're getting those calming benefits as well from it. Endorphins, they provide a sense of well-being, and they help the youth endure and persist. So these are things that just added benefits that as you look at, when you look at physical activity, those are added benefits for any physical activity, but you add that to water and you've just got the therapeutic end of it as well. So I want to talk about what you don't know. And this is where I'm really sort of struggling with working with parents. And I try to come from a compassionate, non-judgmental position when I talk to parents, because I do know a lot. And it's hard because sometimes I assume that people know what I do. And of course they don't, because I've been doing this for 30 years and I see what happens. So I know that what you don't know, you don't know. And I really want to help people know and understand and empower them with these things. So I'm trying to get out there, blog a little bit, perhaps show people what to do. I go to communities, and in this slide, you'll see I have two things in my hand. I have this waterproof skills card, and it has the 10 skills that are in my children's book. And then I have this other deck of cards, basically, that's all the 10 skills, that kind of breaks it down in step by step for parents what to do in the water. And I just keep trying to create more and more aids and visuals and things that parents can take in the pool with them, because that's what I find is, I was visiting a friend a few years ago and taking her child into the water, and I sent her off to the hot tub across the way, and I took her 1-year-old into the water to play. And there were about 4 parents that came into the pool at the time that I was in there, and I was sort of doing all my swim instructor stuff. And these parents were looking at me like, what? How does she know how to do that? And, one parent was sort of lifting their kid up by their bathing suit straps and dipping them into the water. One parent had their kid on their hip and was sort of lifting them with their head out of the water. And everyone was just kind of looking at me like, what do we do? And that's when I really started to get inspired about this. It's like, people don't know what to do. I mean, I just take it for granted that everyone knows. So that's why we are at Face and Water, we're creating all of these materials to empower adults to work with kids in the water. So what we do is we look at these 10 basic swimming and water safety skills. And again, these can be taught starting at infancy. And here's some pictures from Learn to Swim with Lou from the children's book. And we just have these 10 basic skills, and this little ant shows everyone what to do. And I want to talk about the most important skill, which is getting your face wet. This is skill number one. And this is where I think people struggle the most. If you notice, my nonprofit's called Face in Water because I hear from so many people that they don't like to get their face wet. So this is our number one skill. It can be taught from infancy. And I'm going to show you how. I have a couple of videos. In this slide, I've got a picture of me in the bathtub with a little boy. He's, I think, 4 months old at this point, and I have a washcloth and I'm just dripping water over his head. So I've seen these things. I've seen bath visors where, you know, parents put visors on kids so they don't get any water on their face in the bathtub, or they put their head back and wash their hair that way so that no water trickles down their face. And it's really, you're really doing your kids a disservice if you're doing this. You really want to be able to expose them to water on their face from infancy so that they don't know any different. So I'm going to show you a short video. It's me in the bathtub with a 2-month-old. And what happens is when I put water over the face, 2 things happen. They close their eyes and mouth and kind of hold their breath, and then they throw their arms up in the air. So parents will see that and think, oh my gosh, my kid's getting startled, they hate it, you know, they don't like it at all, and so they stop doing it. What's happening is when they scrunch up their face, they're holding their breath, they're working on a natural reflex, a natural instinct, they're holding their breath, and then when they throw their arms up, they're swimming. So what looks like a very frantic reaction to having water on their face is actually them trying to swim through the water. So we want to take that and, you know, go with that and work on these natural instincts that they're born with that they're going to start to lose after a few months. So here is a 2-month-old in the water.
Good job. Good job. Good Let go. Go finger. Go finger. Go finger. Good arm. Good job.
Good. So you can see at 2 months old, we're already pouring water over the face, and he's, you know, on his back, kicking on his back floating. So wonderful, wonderful thing is to work in the bathtub with your child. The next video I'm going to show you is I believe she's 6 at the time, a 6-year-old teaching her 1.5, 2-year-old sister. And when I work with families with older siblings, I always try to get the older siblings involved and the parents involved to then, you know, make it a family activity and make everyone around the water, you know, safer in and around the water. So this is a 6-year-old teaching her 1.5, 2-year-old, and she's doing like a how-to video for you guys.
I'm gonna let my teacher hold her, and we're gonna practice getting our baby sister, our baby brother, hair wet. So first you say 1, 2, 3, ready, go.
Okay.
You have to try it on your arm, on her or his arm before you do it on the head. Let most of it drip backwards on the first time, and then let a little bit more on of it drip the second time. 1, 2, 3, ready, go. Okay, let's try that again. 2, 3, ready, go. Okay, she's getting prepared. So once you say go, your baby should know what you're gonna do.
Good. Okay. So there you go. You get taught by a 6-year-old. And she's right. She said that she's preparing. And that's one thing that we do is we always work on a cue. So rather than just pouring water on your child's head, you always want to work on a cue, and you always want to work on the same cue, whether it's 1, 2, 3, ready, go, 1, 2, 3. You want to work on the same cue over and over and over again. Remember, just like crossing the street, just like navigating traffic, you want to do the same thing when you're in the water. And then once you keep doing that cue, and they keep hearing it, you'll see that they will be able to go under as well. So this is submerging the 1-year-old.
So we have the perfect example of someone that has been cued enough times that she knows it's coming. So watch this. 1, 2, 3, ready, go. Good job. There's that little closing the eyes, holding the breath. 1, 2, 3, ready, go. Good job. So she prepares for it as she hears the cue.
All right, she prepares for it as she hears the cue. And that's what we want to keep doing. If you take anything away from this, it's that please, please, please teach your child how to get their face wet. Don't protect them from the water. It's just water. So you should not be protecting your child's face from the water. You should be encouraging him to have water on it in a safe and healthy way. The second skill that we work on is blowing bubbles. And we talk about inhaling the air and exhaling out into the water. So think of it like any other exercise that you're doing. If you're going to do yoga, if you're going to run a mile, play basketball, you're not going to hold your breath. All right. So that's what happens in swimming. And I think that's why people get so much anxiety when they swim, is that they hold their breath and they go underwater holding their breath. And then when they come up, they have to exhale that breath, and then they don't know what to do next. So you're exhaling, and by the time you go down, you're probably inhaling the water and then choking. So we really want to think about that constant inhaling and exhaling. Okay, Michael Phelps inhales and exhales. Michael Phelps blows bubbles, trust me. So you want to think about that. It's not a matter of holding your breath. It's a matter of that exchange of air, inhaling and exhaling throughout the swimming process. The third skill is floating on your front. And this is really important so that you can just relax. Remember, we talked about when you're in floaties, you're in this vertical position. So we really want to be able to have our face down in the water and be in a horizontal position, just floating on top of the water rather than sinking down to the bottom. And then skill number 4, doing our front glide with kicks. So once we're able to stay up on top of the water in a float, being able to move forward by kicking through the water and move in a forward motion. Now, skill number 5 is arm pulls, and this is my most favorite skill to teach, and I think it will be yours too. So you just want to keep your fingers together, and you are doing your arm pulls through the water. So when they're smaller, of course, it's going to look like little dog paddles almost, but once they get older, they get their arms out of the water. So you can paint rainbows in the sky. You can pretend like the pool is made out of ice cream and scoop ice cream. I have kids that like to excavate. You know, make it fun. Whatever you're doing, you have your fingers together and you're pulling your way through the water. So you are going from point A to point B, and it can be really fun for kids. Skill number 6 is being able to roll over. So being able to be on your front in that front float position, and then being able to roll onto your back. So if you choke on water, or you're tired, or you need some air, or you need to breathe, or you need to relax, you need to know how to roll onto your back so that you can then relax on your back. Skill number 7 is a back float. And of course, this is extremely important. This is one of the biggest water safety skills that you should know, is being able to float on your back. And again, there are all different methods of teaching and all different ways to teach. I clearly teach from a very holistic loving point of view. I like to, be happy and smile and play games and laugh and have fun. With me, teaching swimming is always first about safety and second about having fun. So I like to have fun. I like the kids to really enjoy themselves. So I understand that some programs aren't like that. And that's why I'm encouraging you to have this holistic approach where you're really teaching your child to not only respect the water, but to have fun in it. And it's not a 1 week or a 2 week process. It's a lifelong process. So learning how to float on their back, you are holding them, you're singing to them, you're looking up at the sky, whatever it is, singing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, but the back float is a really important skill. So let's take a look at a 2-year-old doing the back float. That's her brother.
Mm-hmm.
I can't.
Are you taking a nap? Are you taking a nap on the water?
No. Mom, why not? Here. You know what?
Good. So we noticed that she was able to float on her back for quite some time all by herself, and then she rolled over and was swimming. Now at this point she wasn't able to take a breath by herself yet, like picking her head up, but she could roll onto her back and get some air that way. So that's why that's really important for her. The 8th skill is the back glide with kicks. So again, just like the front float, being able to glide and kick, we do the same with the back glide with kicks, where you want to be able to get from point A to point B and move across the water safely. Skill 9 is being able to retrieve an object from the bottom of the pool. This is really important to be able to change body direction, being able to push off the bottom of the pool. And so that's a really important skill as well. And then the last skill is being able to jump in, turn around, and go back to safety. And along with getting your face wet, I think getting your face wet's the #1 skill. And then I would say learning how to jump in, turn around, and go back to safety, that's right up there with that. Because if a child ever falls into the water, first of all, they're gonna wanna have water on their face. They're gonna wanna know what that feels like if they ever fall in. But they wanna be able to turn around and get back to safety. So we're gonna watch a 2-year-old jump in, turn around, and go back to safety.
2, 3. Good job.
So if you notice, she jumped in, turned around, went back to the wall, reached up to grab it, and then started working her way down the wall. So I find that these 10 skills are the most important that everybody needs to learn. It's my mission to get this out there through my nonprofit, through Face and Water. So I am always looking for people that are doing similar things. I'm always looking for people to partner with. I want to make this education and empowerment accessible and equitable. So please, if something has resonated with you, hopefully you learned a couple things. You can pass this information on to someone else and just share your knowledge. But also, I'd like you to connect with me at faceandwater@gmail.com, or you can go to swimkim.com to my website and find all the information about the nonprofit on there. But what I'd like to do is connect with like-minded individuals, collaborate, and find a way that we can work together to help prevent drownings. So thank you for listening and have a wonderful day. Be safe out there.